Welcome everyone to Overtime on the Delta News, where we are ready to put the show in overdrive. Manning the controls, I'm Jordan Black. Thanks so much for spending your Sunday night with me. Make sure you buckle up because over the next 30 minutes, we're going to step on the gas and take you on a ride back through this past week in sports. Overtime on the Delta News starts right now. All right, well, let's start with a look back at Week 8 of the college football scene. First, in the SEC yesterday, Mississippi State, hoping to avenge last year's loss to Kentucky. The 2016 battle ended in dramatic fashion. Won't remind you Bulldogs fans, but this year the Bulldogs ready to get it done on home turf. Dogs versus Cats showdown for homecoming in Starkville. Let's get this highlight reel going. There it is. Dan Mullen and his crew storming on out. Will pick it up in the first quarter. Nick Fitzgerald around the left and tumbles on in. From 3 yards out, MSU goes up and so does Fitz. 7-0. Fast forward to the second half. Wildcats trying to get something going. They're down 24-7, but the Dogs defense stiff as a board today. Braxton Hoyt coming up with a big INT there. And we'll go on into the fourth quarter with the Wildcats driving deep in Dog territory again, but not for long. Gary Green with the pick. Who remembers this guy? The former Hornet on the run, turns on the Jets, a big man TD, that's what we like to call it, takes it 84 yards for the INT return. The Dogs lead 38-7 at that point and go on to just demolish Kentucky, avenging last year's loss, and then some. 45-7 the final. Bulldogs have it, needless to say, a big win in Starkville for Mullen and his men.
I thought, you know, all three phases a very solid day in all three phases, you know, against a really good team. And you know, we're able to kind of take them out of what makes them comfortable and put pressure on them. You have two teams that like to run the ball, run play action, control the pace of the game. And I think, you know, that first drive helped us, and getting up early really helped us be the pace setters of the game.
Big one, you know, coming about the bye week last week against BYU, then our first SEC game, just continue to start this second half of the season off the right way.
Next up for the Bulldogs, a trip to College Station to take on Texas A&M. Mississippi State now 5-2 and 2-2 in conference play. Another win under Coach Dan Mullen's belt, which brings us to our first overtime extra point of the night, because we've got multiple. Yesterday's win moved Coach Mullen in sole possession of second place for career victories at MSU. He now has 66, surpassing College Hall of Famer Alan McKean, and needs just 10 to become the all-time winningest coach in Starkville. Jackie Sherrill holds that mark with 75. Next, let's look back at Oxford yesterday, a big matchup, no doubt, as the Rebs hosted the Tigers of LSU and hosted Coach Ogeron in his return to Oxford. I think he was looking for some chicken on a stick. That's what I heard. Could Ole Miss make it 2 wins in a row? Let's see. First, tied at 3 apiece, LSU's Danny Etling hands it off to the go-to guy, Darius Geis. Bursts through the line, takes that one 59 yards inside the Ole Miss 10. First and goal. Next play. Why don't we just give it to Geis again, because that's what Coach O says we should do. Spins on in from 7 yards out to go ahead. Later in the first, Rebs defense showing out, though. They're not giving up. Breland Speaks with the big-time sack of Etling. And I think that's when we put our land shark fins up, right? Second half, Ole Miss down 23-9. Hands it off to Jordan Wilkins here, who breaks, so many tackles, I lost count. Gets down the sideline and into the end zone. Rebs tighten things up, but the Tigers pile it on to leave Oxford with a victory. LSU takes it 40-24 behind Geis's 272 yards rushing.
We played decent games. Not decent games can't win. You know, you can't win with decent games. So, you know, we really just got to stop the run.
You really just have to give the credit to LSU. They did a really good job on 50-50 balls. They did a really good job of getting their hand through the catch point. And, you know, we were banking on and depending on our guys to make a few of those. And that's certainly not to blame the receivers. This is a team loss.
And the Rebs host Arkansas next week. Ole Miss coming up with another SEC loss, and unfortunately a loss of a starting QB as well. Shea Patterson out for the season after suffering an injury last night. Confirmed that he'll miss the remainder of this one with a torn PCL in his right knee. That marks the second season in a row that the main man under center is out for Ole Miss with a season-ending knee injury. Now the former five-star prospect from Shreveport currently leads the SEC in passing yards per game and total offense, and will end the season with 17 touchdown passes. Not sure what exactly was wrong until this morning. Coach Luke and his staff decided to leave Patterson in the game yesterday until pretty late.
Oh, just because we felt like he gave us the best chance to win, and he wasn't going to, we were told that he wasn't going to further damage it, so that's what we went with. And he got sacked, and he on a play late, maybe in the third or late in the fourth quarter. So we gave Jordan an opportunity to go in there after that.
And that Jordan is Jordan Ta'amu, the JUCO transfer, now the next man up for Ole Miss. Plus a homecoming at the Valley yesterday, and coming home finally for a team that's played 5 of its first 6 on the road. The Delta Devils back in Itta yesterday afternoon, hosting Virginia University of Lynchburg. And a cool new entrance for the green and red. How about that? First quarter, Jet Even is in the shotgun for Valley this week. Rolls right, pops it out to Kyle Harris. Takes it for a short gain before getting knocked out of bounds. But that would set up this next drive for the Devils. Even back to pass finds a favorite Valley target, Booker Chambers, the Greenwood guy on the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. He's out of sight, out of my eye, into the end zone for the Valley TD. Delta Devils on the board first. That was his first of 4 touchdowns on the day. However, the PAT is blocked. That makes it 6-0 Valley in the first. Later, Devils forced to punt, but right through Justin Reed's legs. Could have been worse than it was, because Valley turned it on yesterday. A second win of the season with a 53-5 victory over Lynchburg for homecoming. Now, quarterback Jet Evans' performance in yesterday's homecoming showdown was one for the ages, with his QBR of 297.9 versus Lynchburg. Even broke the MVSU record for single-game quarterback rating. The record, which stood for 35 years, was held by College Football Hall of Famer Willie Totten, who set the previous mark of 235.2 in 1982 versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. Even went 13 for 17 for 291 yards and 4 touchdowns in yesterday's dominating performance. Plus, in Cleveland, the 6-1 and 19th ranked Statesmen eyeing a home victory, hosting 3-2 Valdosta State and conference foe that ported on the Statesmen last year, hoping to avenge that one. Pick it up after the half. Blazers up 24-3. Breck Reddick under center for the Statesmen. Hands it off to Chris Robinson up the gut. Short gain there. Puts the green and white in the red zone, but they'll have to settle for a field goal. Vince Serrata from 24 yards out, and he is good. That was his second of the day. 24-6, DSU still trailing later. DSU ball again. Reddick scrambles, goes up looking for what seems to be Cleveland's Leon Green, but instead DeCarry Croker beats him to it. Big INT there, Blazers. Turn it into some more points later in the drive. Rogan Wells calls his own number, takes it in for the score. VSU leads 31-6 there, and the Statesmen fall for the second time in a row at home, 34-13, the final from Cleveland. And they're on the road to North Alabama next. Now, DSU falling to 4-2 in conference play. In the past few close games for the Statesmen, one player has been consistent in helping the green and white stay in the game, which brings us to our second overtime extra point. With his first field goal kick from 42 yards out yesterday, kicker Vince Serrata became the GSC's all-time leading scorer by kick, eclipsing the 308-point mark previously held by Valdosta State's Will Rohde. Serrata now has 313 career points. And checking in on some scores yesterday, a thriller in Ruston. Southern Miss on the road to visit Louisiana Tech. How about this? 2 overtimes. Keon Howard hits Greenwood's Corey Robertson for the 25-yard score in the second OT. Southern Miss staging an improbable comeback to beat the Bulldogs 34-27. Saturday night, Golden Eagles now 5-2 on the season. Plus, the Braves on the road to take on Grambling, #1 teams in their respective divisions, but one has to go down, and it's Grambling on top, 41-14. And for Jackson State, really tough season to date. looking still for win number 1. They won't get it last night, falling after a lightning delay to Southern, 35-17. And finally, wrapping up our first half with college football, some junior college ball on a Saturday, another homecoming showdown. This one comes from Mississippi Delta, the Trojans, hosting Itawamba, and 2 looking for their first W first quarter. That's where we'll pick things up in Moorhead. The Indians are up 7-0. Dan Ellington is the ICC QB and zips this one to former DSU guy Malik Honeycutt. 63-yard bomb, and he just takes it on into the end zone with ease. That puts the Indians up 14-0 in the first. Coach Tatum's guys try to get something going. They're forced to punt. Indians ball again. This time, Dan Ellington up 40 yards to connect with Michael Reed, another TD. Trojans trail 21-0 in the first. Can't make it their first win on the season. They fall 62-14 for homecoming. I got to get some water. It is time for our first water break. Lots of college football talk, but it's Sunday Fun Day. 3 big NFL games. We've got highlights and scores next when overtime returns.